This is your stimulus check, second stimulus check, stimulus package, and COVID-19 and news update for Friday, September 18th. These updates are designed to save you time and hassle and give you nonpartisan news. The World Health Organization reported the highest single-day increase in coronavirus since the start of the pandemic. Recently in the US, thousands were texted saying they were positive with coronavirus. More news on that in a moment. The House of Representatives came back from their vacation Monday, and big news is the Democrats and Republicans in the House of Representatives finally decided to get together and formulate a new bipartisan stimulus package. 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans now make up the Problem Solvers Caucus. This is brilliant. I have been saying they need to not draft any more stimulus unless all parties draft a plan together. I am so glad Congress has stopped wasting time drafting useless bills and finally crafted a bill together. This caucus, made up of Democrats and Republicans, came up with the new stimulus package called the March to Common Grounds Act, and I am so glad they've learned that teamwork makes the dream work. I'm going to share more details in a moment of this $1.5 billion stimulus package, which includes 2 stimulus checks for the American people, and yes, I said 2. And the good news is that CNN reported Trump said on Wednesday, "Go for the much higher numbers, Republicans," in a tweet referring to the coronavirus stimulus payments, a message that stands to undercut the strategy of the Republicans. There is only about 2 to 3 weeks left before Congress leaves again. And yes, I said 2 to 3 weeks. Until they leave again, Congress will be going back to campaign in their respective states. However, Nancy Pelosi said that the Congress is not leaving until stimulus is passed. Congress is feeling the pressure to pass a stimulus bill, including another stimulus check before the election. With all the crazy continuing, I thought I'd lighten things up with a joke. What's the difference between a politician and a flying pig? The letter F. Sounds like most of our government. Sad. Before we move on, I have a gift for you. Use my link in the description and download the Webull mobile app and grab your 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. Now, let's talk about the new bill called the March to Common Grounds Act. This package addresses key areas of need that have been a big topic amongst Americans. So, the main parts of the Common Grounds Act address the $1,200 stimulus checks, with $500 for dependents, including all dependents. And this includes now college students and adult dependents, which were excluded in the CARES Act. There's also a second stimulus check included for March of 2021. This check is based on hospitalizations and the vaccine process. Getting a second stimulus check in March will be dependent on those things. The second stimulus check will use the same income qualifications from the CARES Act. Also, extra federal unemployment is included in this bill for unemployed Americans, getting $450 per week for 8 weeks, and after 8 weeks, Americans could receive up to $600 per week thereafter under this bill. The federal unemployment benefits will now run until January 2021 under this bill. Other areas that will receive funding from the March to Common Grounds Act are $500 billion for state and local governments, and this money can be used for the expenses since the pandemic, but not debt before the pandemic. $290 billion for small businesses and nonprofit support, and this includes more PPP, which will have more flexibility on how to use and more flexibility with forgiveness. $145 billion for schools and childcare, $100 billion for COVID testing and healthcare, $25 billion for farming, $15 billion for the post office. There are other categories included in the bill, but these are the main places the March to Common Grounds Act funds. Lastly, the COVID-19 news. Coronavirus is still affecting the world in a big way. The World Health Organization reported that this past Sunday was the highest single-day increase in the coronavirus since the start of the pandemic. Due to an error during routine maintenance, almost 7,000 people were texted in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, saying that they were COVID positive, while they were actually not. And as of September 16th, U.S. corona cases are at 6.6 million, with deaths over 195,000. Cases of COVID in the U.S. had been trending down for 5 days, and they were under 35,000. To put that into perspective, at the peak in July, COVID was at almost 67,000 cases per day. On Tuesday, this past week, COVID cases jumped back to over 37,000. There is bipartisan agreement when it comes to the stimulus checks, and now a bipartisan problem solver caucus. Hopefully, Congress can now stop wasting our taxpayer money and stalling stimulus. In an economic crisis, 6 months to craft a bill and compromise and get it passed is not timely. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Congress has obviously never learned compromise and win-win. My opinion, not fact yet, is I believe someone is going to give us stimulus before the election. And why? Well, let's be real. This whole stimulus game is about re-election. People who want to get re-elected want to give money. And I believe sometime in October, we will get stimulus. I hope now that the Senate and the House are back, Congress can come up with a swift agreement on stimulus checks, other stimulus for the economy. Maybe we will see checks in October. Well, fam, this completes your second stimulus check, coronavirus, and news update for Friday, September 18th. Please tune in Saturday with a new news update and more on stimulus. If you want streamlined, nonpartisan news that saves you time, don't forget to like, smash that subscribe, and download the Webull mobile app and get those 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. And let me know in the comments what stocks you get. Bye for now, fam.